Senator Cassidy.
Hey, thank you very much. Mr. Hemstreet, the capital requirements to build this sort of hydro and to maintain it, as well as the kind of energy loss required to use some of your electrons to transport the water to the top. What does that do to your cost per kilowatt hour of a wind farm, for example? If you add that cost not just upon the turbine, but also that which has to inherently be attached to it in order to help with the intermittency.
Yeah, I think certainly the efficiency of these type of projects, of any storage project, there's going to be losses on the inside, on going up and going back down. So we see efficiency about 81%, 70, 80%. So there's an energy loss, of course, in any form of storage. So that increases costs, of course, because we're not able to capture everything.
So if you will, increases by roughly 20% the cost of energy before you get to the capital requirements, correct?
Right. I mean, you're going to have to see that much of a spread in terms of the price of pumping.
And then how much is the capital cost going to add to it, presuming that you have to pay for the capital cost with the price you charge for the electricity?
I mean, the cost of these projects is typically on the order of between $300 to $4,500 a kW today. So the high capital cost has been an impediment for pump storage.
And so again, when people speak about how cheap wind can be once installed, but if you amortize the expense and if you take the diminution in the energy efficiency, what does it do to the business model absent a tax credit or a whatever?
Well, we know that these type of resources are going to be important for meeting a lively in terms of the macroeconomics of all these resource decisions. In totality, it's really not something I'm super familiar with.
Sounds great. I'm going to move on, not to be rude, but just because I have limited time, and maybe we'll do a QFR to allow you to research it. Mr. Nilsson, hey man, you're the objective guy here. Is lithium going to crowd out what Mr. Wiley's talking about? I mean, like it's going to fill up the room and by the way, Mr. Wiley, I look forward to our announcement in Louisiana. Spoiler alert, we've got the river, we've got the railroad, we've been handling steel and iron for a long time. So I look forward to that ribbon cutting. Thank you very much, sir. East of the Mississippi River, St. James Parish, perfect. I got a 200-acre site for you. Mr. Nilsson, is the kind of oh my gosh, it's going to crowd out because everything's lithium, going to encroach upon their ability to get market share?
There definitely is a history of technology lock-in. We can see in a variety of different sectors. You can think about the QWERTY keyboard, for example. There's no particular reason why we use a QWERTY keyboard. It was the one that became the dominant technology. That certainly could happen with lithium-ion.
That's more of a standard it is than a product, though.
No, I mean, there's no reason we have to use QWERTY keyboards.
I get that.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing it distinct, but I don't want to waste time on that.
Oh, well, the same thing could happen with lithium-ion, which is why the Department of Energy's programs to support demonstrations of new technologies, to give those a chance, are so important. Investors are not going to be pouring a huge amount of money into big manufacturing projects unless they have relative certainty that the product is going to work at scale. And, I would love Ted to also weigh in here, but that's why it's important for, governments to engage in private-public partnerships to help get those technologies going so you can have that proof of concept, and then the private sector can come in and scale technologies up.
Okay, then I'll ask you this, but the others can be, and I'm limited time, which is why I'm not going to you on this, Mr. Wiley. Let me ask about, I understand that there is an issue with storage related as well to the interconnection. Can you get the grid to kind of accept this battery influx when you may have limited capacity on your power lines? I'm probably not explaining it well, but you're nodding your head as if you know what I'm saying. So can you speak about that obstacle, if you will, to getting it into the grid?
Yeah, the interconnection queue, all new energy generation projects have to go through a process where they do an analysis to see what the impact will be. It's definitely a big challenge. It varies a lot on a regional basis. Right now, the average time for new generators to connect to the grid is 3.7 years. That's been increasing over time. Some places like California, the average time is 8 years that you wait in the queue to know whether or not you can connect.
So
that's
California,
a big
which is
challenge.
attempting to go to all-electric vehicles by 2035, therefore needs to expand.
It's a
and
huge
wants to get
challenge.
rid of fossil, so it needs this capacity. It takes 8 years.
On average, just waiting to know how much it's going to cost, yes.
And then how much longer to develop and to deploy?
Well, then it'll take another 2 or 3 years after that for the construction and operation startup. And right now, there's 421 gigawatts of battery storage in the queue nationwide. About half of that's tied with renewables. And we're probably only going to be able to build about 20% of that in the end, unless we work on the interconnection queue. FERC is working on this. There was a unanimous notice of proposed rulemaking they sent out a few weeks ago. So I'm happy to see that there's bipartisan action on this. But it's absolutely a crucial problem. We're going to be putting out a paper on this. I'll send it to your office.
To be clear, it's not just the queue, but it's also the transmission capacity
Yep.
that can absorb the generation from that which is occurring, as well as and so you not only have to permit this, you have to permit the increase in generation capacity.
Yeah, that's correct, sir.
So you may not want to take this, if I may have 15 more seconds. It seems unrealistic that California is going to have both the storage and the transmission in order to go to an all-electric new car fleet in 2035. And you just give us timelines that would push, optimistically, those at the front of the queue into 12 years, roughly 10 years, somewhere between 2032 and 2034. Do you think it's reasonable that California will have the capacity to address all their new electric vehicles by 2035?
Is that one for me?
Yeah.
I think it will be a challenge, and permitting reform will be really essential for accelerating development of clean energy in California.
That's kind of a dodge, but I'll give it to you.
Well, it'll be a huge challenge. They have a lot of state-specific regulatory requirements that slow down the development of new CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, is a big issue. So right now they're not on track to hit those goals.
That's
which is partially why they're keeping Diablo Canyon online, things like that.